Ninjas. This is Strydent, and I am bringing to you another toy review. This time I am taking it way back. I saw a nice review by Shardimus Prime, so I'm taking it back to the Marvel Legends days, and I'm going to review Marvel Legends Bishop figure. Now, my review is going to be a little bit different because there are a couple things, actually there's a handful of things that, in my opinion, keep this figure from being an amazing figure, like, all around. He's an awesome, display figure, but it has articulation, and in order for you to actually play with the figure and totally utilize it, there's some things that he needs to have that this figure does not have, and I'm going to go over that stuff too. It kind of cracks me up how certain lines don't get the scrutiny that other lines get. It's like fans of Marvel give Marvel Legends an ultimate pass, even when they make a shitty figure. Fans of DC give the DC Universe Classics a pass, even when they make a shitty figure. And we're paying money for this stuff, so I don't feel the need to do that. If either side makes a shitty figure, I'm gonna say so. Yes, I am a DC fan, but they make some shitty figures sometimes. Actually, there have been a lot of shitty figures, so I guess this is my niche. I gotta point out the bad, and I hate being the bearer of bad news, but in the case of this figure, we got a lot of issues to point out that keep it from being perfect. So here's Bishop pointing his guns at you all thorough-like and whatnot. It's a pretty well sculpted figure in many respects. I mean, you can see the wear on his gloves, all the folds in his scarf, facial details. They even made his mullet look cool. And he's a pretty hefty figure too in comparison to the other figures. But Bishop was a really cool character for me because he was my favorite X-Man for a long time. Not just because he was black, I just thought he had a cool power. Absorbing and reflecting energy just seems like the perfect kind of power to have for anybody. His guns, I think in the comics he did use similar guns to this, and those guns were pretty nice. I mean, they did a good job with them. Overall, he had one big cannon and one sawed-off shotgun. Being that he was the most militaristic character on the team, coming from a future that was ruled by mutants, he had to be hardcore. Anyway, the figure kind of does an okay job with that. You can see there's a peg in his hand and a hole in the guns. Both guns have the hole. He can't just hold the guns like he should be able to. No kung fu grip. I don't like that. Instead, they gave him points of articulation in his fingers. Why does a guy this big need points of articulation in his fingers? I don't know. I would have preferred kung fu grip so he could hold his guns, but it's Marvel Legends, and that's how they used to do stuff. He also has these kind of messed up ball socket, swivel jointed legs, and they don't work as natural as they should because the ball socket is really tight in his thigh. He has these huge feet that don't stand flat and rockers in his ankles, so when you try to get him to stand up, and like I said, he's a heavy figure, the rockers kind of prevent that, so he can't really support his own weight. As you can see, there's a detail. He only has one hinge in his elbow. It's kind of weird that they sculpted his arms like this. The arms look like, I don't know, rhino skin or something. It's just weird because his face doesn't look like that. His face is actually really smooth. It kind of makes you wonder what's the deal with that. Parts of his chest have the exact same texture that his arms have. His shoulders look weird. Everything, I mean, you can see some slop. It's just annoying that they put some of that stuff. You can even see some wear in his shoulders, and I didn't really play with this figure. This one's warm in a shelf. Anyway, really good likeness though. He does look like most of the art. They didn't give him the generic black man face. They kind of gave him his own face. He kind of looks like a bodybuilder, but I don't know any of the Mr. Universes by name or anything, but maybe Lee Haney, someone like that. I don't know. I can't call it, but you can see they even got the M right, got the cool, shiny, glowing-ish eyes. He just looks pretty hardcore, and he's got weapon storage, which is nice. So, all in all, his look is perfect. All of those things that I pointed out before are mostly the pros. He looks cool, he's huge, but now we're going to get to the cons. He's a soldier with a giant two-handed cannon that he can only hold with one hand because his muscles and the way they sculpted his shoulders don't allow him to hold it with two. But then the Punisher here, who's also bulky but just not as big as Bishop, he can hold his gun with both hands. Matter of fact, when I was tempted to do it, almost every Marvel Legends figure I have, even Colossus, can hold a pistol with two, or a machine gun with two hands. Then there's the big feet. They gave him these semi-realistic biker boots. They kind of curve up in the front. And then they gave him a really sloppy rocker joint. But it's funny because he's not the first figure they did this with. They did the same thing with the Punisher, only they tried to make his proportions a little bit more, you know, like realistic, I guess, not as cartoony. And they work. They engineered the figure so that he could stand on his own weight. They didn't give you all that weird stuff that he doesn't necessarily need. And then like this weird pelvis area with the ball socket joints, the weird ball socket joints. Why didn't they just give him, since he's so much bigger than the rest, why didn't they give him the same kind of the H joint that they gave the Punisher? And that's the same joint that they use on many of the DC Universe classics. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what was the deal with this? It's the same kind of horrible QC they had with Blade, like the Marvel Legends Blade. So this is the best I could do to get him to hold his cannon with two hands. And it just looks stupid because he's supposed to be a soldier. He should have had double hinged elbows. He's big enough. I mean, a lot of the Soda figures do. He should have been able to do this, what the Punisher's doing. So I think, like, articulation is cool, but if they can't do things that the character does, then what's the point in having all the articulation, you know? It's like having a Professor X figure that can't sit down in his wheelchair. So, you know, this is a figure that would look cool sitting on a shelf somewhere. If you don't pose him, or you find one good pose and you leave him in that pose forever. I mean, you'd probably even be better off super gluing his joints so that he's stuck in the pose that you choose. Because overall, the figure is not something you could play around with and enjoy it, because the joints just don't work well. All the articulation is just so kind of half-assed that it takes away from the fun factor of having a toy like this, you know? And this is coming from a fan of Bishop. Like I said, the look is awesome, but the playability and posability is just kind of lame. I mean, he can't kneel down, he just can't do so much of the things he needs to do, but he will look cool on your shelf. So if you're a fan and you have to have him to complete your X-Men team, I say you go get him. But this is not by any means the perfect representation of Bishop. So anyway, that's all I got to say for the first of my Marvel Legends review. I hope you dug it. Check me out later for some more reviews, and as always, check out my website, www.lordnephilim.com, or .deviantart.com, sorry. Alright guys, peace.